The Lord is my shepherd, I have what I need. He lets me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. He renews my life and leads me along right paths for his name's sake. Even when I walk through the darkest of valleys, I fear no danger, for you're with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies, and anoint me with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord.
All right, well, good morning again. And so we're just going to dive right in. What do Miley Cyrus, Oprah Winfrey, Stephen Colbert, two of the Kardashians, singer Adele, and Missy Elliott, as well as Cincinnati Reds slugger Joey Votto, all share in common, aside being rich? They all have anxiety, and panic sidelines them from life. They all do. Colbert started having panic attacks in his 20s and told Rolling Stone magazine, "Creating something which kept me from just spinning apart like an unweighted flywheel, and I haven't stopped since," is what he said. In an interview, Adele shared, "One show in Amsterdam, I was so nervous I escaped out of the fire exit." In 2015, Missy Elliott was set to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. Just before going on, she had a massive panic attack, and she later told Billboard magazine, "I know it was nothing but the grace of God that lifted me up and took me through that performance." About 8 million Americans, 3.5% of the population, face diagnosed anxiety disorders at any given time. But the number is probably 10 to 15 times greater than that in life who experience life-altering high anxiety at some point that can be counted. Some point. According to a study, 20% of adults aged 18 to 54 struggle with constant episodes of mental illness, leading to irrationality and poor judgment. While some are able to identify it and get the help they need, there's others who are high functioning but often never realize how it affects their everyday lives. They don't even understand. It's easy to see why Pew Research notes that most teenagers in America list anxiety as the leading problem amongst teenagers. That's the leading problem. Sadly, this often leads to a path of self-medication instead of grounding, leads to addiction and abuse of drugs, alcohol, sex, and many are trying to fill up with anything to ease the pain and emptiness. That's what's happening. Most people are just self-medicating, and they're often trying to perhaps postpone what's happening. Now, the question is, how about you? How healthy do you feel? Could your soul use some fresh air? Is your current path helping you find this? Whatever path that you happen to be on, whatever journey you're on, is it helping you find health? How healthy do you feel? Which direction are you going? And long before modern medicine and psychology, an ancient king offered a psalm that is still shared today. We just heard it sung, and often in times of despair, grief, and difficulty. So here's what he says. The king writes, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. See, I want to ask this before we kind of continue. How many of us do we need that refreshing, that of health, that we just need to go, hey, I need something that needs to just be changed. I need to, and see that today we're going to spend most of our time kind of in verse 3 is where we're going to be looking at. And we're going to be talking about being grounded, and we're going to spend most of our time there. Just kind of know that we're going through this. And if you guys haven't figured it out yet, we spent most of our time in verse 1 in week 1, and verse 2, week 2. Today we're in verse 3. Next week we're going to be in verse 4. And so if you're just trying to figure this all out, that's where we're going to be at. And so this week we're in verse 3. And so just ask this question to yourself. Where is it that we need to be grounded? Where is it that we need to refocus? Where is it that we need to go, I need to, we're in our mental health, we're in our physical health, where is it that we need to be at? And then how do we move forward from there? And so take a deep breath and go, what do I need? Do I need to do something? Do I need to change something? And if you do, you can raise a hand, or you can just say, hey, I just need to refocus a little bit. I need to change something. So for me, I need to change something here. And if you have that, just raise a hand up for a second. And now you can just put your hand back down. And we're just going to start here. We're just going to open in a moment of prayer. So let's just start here with a moment of prayer. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to just take a moment to reground ourselves in your word and in what you would ask us to do in this moment moving forward. Father, help us to center ourselves in what you would and what you would have for us, the direction you would have for our lives, the direction you would have for even this service as we move forward. Father, speak to us, guide us, remove the hurdles that prevent this message from just resonating with us. Remove me from this message and just have your spirit dwell in each one of us and just allow whatever needs to be heard, and whatever needs to be cast away that just doesn't apply to us to move away, to be just thrown out of this, and allow what we need to hear to be heard. Father, thank you. And it's your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. Amen. All right, so I want to remind you, so we've been talking about this in the series. If you just think about this, if you think about this as so all of this, we talked about lights and we talked about this, so think about recharging. We're talking about electrical type of things. And so this whole series is coming from that. And so we say when it's time for a recharge, we want to return to the one in charge. So that's what we're, at the whole point of this, right? We're saying that when it's time for a charge, we want to return to the one in charge. And so this week, like I said, we're looking at verse 3 of Psalm 23, and it says, He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for His name's sake. So when we look at this, in this beautiful poem, King David compares God to the good shepherd who loves, right? He looks after, he leads his sheep. Right? And in the example in this metaphor, it's easy for David to relate to because before a king, he was a shepherd, right? Before becoming a king, he was a shepherd. And this shepherd and king know from experience what a good shepherd is going to consistently be aware of: the pasture and the problems and the potential dangers and the harm the sheep and the people under his care. He knows what's going to happen. So he's been a shepherd and he's been a king, and he understands this. And so he sees this and he goes, I can understand, I can relate to this. I can tell you, I know what he has to do. I know the direction, and I understand the Lord being a shepherd and guiding us in which direction. I know what he has to do. So he completely is going, this is how it has to be. And so when he says this, and he goes, it's completely relatable. He knows the dangers. He knows this. And so when we're following what God has asked us to do, God obviously knows the dangers, the pitfalls that are before us. And he knows how to help us avoid them. When we are listening and we are in tune with his word, and we are in tune with him, and we're moving along with the Spirit, he knows exactly how to make it to where we avoid these dangers. And when we step out of that and we move into our own thing, when we decide that we want to live by the book of Mike rather than by the book that's laid before us by God, or we want to lay by the book of whatever you are, like you could be the book of Melissa, or, the book of Ebb, right? You can continue to go on and on and on, but when we decide that we want to step into that rather than the Bible, all of a sudden we're stepping out of the will of God. And so now all of a sudden we've stepped out of the rhythm of what God is trying to have us live in. Now we're living within our own rhythms, right? We're living within what we think is right. And obviously what we think is right doesn't seem to work most of the time. Sometimes it does. Sometimes we hear our conscience, we hear the Spirit whispering in our ear, but other times we ignore that. Other times we're like, oh, I hear you, but I still want this. I still like this. I want to do this. I enjoy these things. I want to continue to do what I want to do. And we move in the direction, and instead of listening to the shepherd who has us under his care, we tend to go, no, I kind of want to wander over here. And we end up wandering into our own little direction. And we end up going to these different places. See, in the previous verse, David points out that how the good shepherd takes the sheep into green pastures, into quiet waters. And see, where the sheep will find substance, right? Food and drink, and they'll stay healthy and alive, right? That's what he says. In a word, he says that they'll be grounded, right? That's what he's saying. And see, when we talk about electricity, we're talking grounding is critical to protecting people and equipment to the dangers of high voltage, right? When you're talking about this, right? If it's not grounded, and see, when a conductive surface like metal is not grounded, it can carry sufficient voltage to administer a fatal shock. That's just what happens. And so saying it would be safer to live without electricity is saying that it would be like saying life would be easier if there wasn't so much voltage running through our everyday, right? So like for us, we have a lot of voltage running through our everyday. We have a lot. We have busy schedules, nonstop messages, assignments, bills, places to be, things to do. All of us have a lot of voltage running through our days. We have a lot that's just happening. And it's just continuing to go and go and go and go. Like it's the 24-hour barrage of just going and going and going. My phone went off this morning at 4:45 from a person I have no idea who it was. Like a message went off. I was like, what is this? Like I have no idea. Like I got a text message and I go, oh, what? Like I don't. Like how did you break through? I don't even understand how you got to me. But that's what and that's how our world is. Like people can just reach out and they can just get a hold of you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like that's how things are happening. But that's how our lives have gotten. Like it's just this 24-hour, and that's just a ton of voltage happening in our lives. You just have this constant thing that's going on. It's just continuing to happen. And see, in our lives, we're not grounded. We have to get better at being grounded. Now, I know some of you, you've gotten to that stage in life where you're a little too grounded. You just aren't doing anything. You're just like, oh, I'm just kicking back. I got my feet kicked up. I watched lots of this, lots of that. And you're not doing anything because you're overly grounded, which means that you're not actually living in the direction that God has called you to live. You're just like, I'm just kicking back. That's making it to where you have no voltage going on. You're just like, I'm just waiting for the natural end of things. And see, we don't want to do that either. We want to have balance, right? We want to be fed, we want to be taken care of, but we don't want to be bored just waiting for the end. Because see, that's what ends up happening. So we want to make sure that we're moving forward, and we want to make sure that we're moving in a direction that allows us, that we're not overly busy, and we don't have so much going on, but that we are not, that we're not getting carried away here also. But also there's a reminder that only a good shepherd can ground our souls. Only a good shepherd can ground our souls. And while it might help to have fewer things to do, to put less pressure on ourselves, and even relaxing a bit more, none of these situations will help when the voltage of life kicks up. None of it does. What we need is to be grounded. That's what happens. See, when we have to get to this point. See, I'm going to give you an idea here. There's some research back in the day, and we're only beginning to understand it more now. But according to research, that there is bacteria in our stomach. I don't know if you guys know this, that plays a role in depression. So his name is Bosch, and it's an associate professor at the University of Amsterdam. Since 10 years ago, if you were to say that there was something linking depression to microbiomes in our stomach, you'd be carried out in a straitjacket, is what he said. Now, absolutely, there's a very clear link between what we eat and depression. There's a very clear link. So, here's the eating and drinking our feelings. But just as a physical state and emotional state are linked, our spiritual state is linked even more, right? That's what ends up happening. So, and although the modern translations of Psalm 23:3, he refreshes my soul, that word soul, nefesh, N-E-F-E-S-H, in Hebrew is best understood as life breath or life. So if you were to retranslate that, it's life breath or life. And so the image of David that David is trying to recreate here is as of someone who's almost stopped breathing. Somebody who's stopped breathing and is revived and brought back to life. That's what he's trying to create here. That's what he's saying. So, again, I'll ask you this question. How about you? Has someone knocked the wind out of your soul? Has somebody taken that away from you? Are you having a hard time catching your mental or emotional or your spiritual breath? Are you having a hard time trying to ground yourself? Are you having just a difficult time trying to get through some of these things? Because, again, we believe only a good shepherd can truly refresh our souls. That's what we believe. What are you pursuing to try and refresh your soul? What is it that you're after? See, because there's too often that we're seeking refresh. Like, I'll just give you an example. Melissa and I will try and seek refresh on a vacation. Like, we'll go, hey, we just got to get away, and we'll go on a refresh, and we'll go on a vacation. And I'll just tell you, like there's been times where we just got to get away for a couple days, and we'll go to Disneyland. Do you know? That's not vacation, by the way. And I get it. It's like the happiest place on earth for Mickey Mouse, because they're taking your money. They're like, here you go. Like they're just like Disney. It's the happiest place on earth because you're just giving them cash. But it's hell on earth for a parent. Because everything costs money. You're in there and they're like, how much is it for this popsicle? It's $35. What? How much did you say? $35. What? How much is it for this popcorn? $17.50. For this microwave popcorn? Yeah. And it's just, that's how it is. And it's like, okay, you walk into Disneyland and you're like, oh, I was doing financially well, and you leave and they're like, yeah, did we take all your money? No. Well, come back in here. We're not done yet. And so that's just how it goes. So there is no refreshing. Or the same thing, we'll go, hey, and you guys know that we tend to vacation and we'll go to Hawaii. It's the exact same thing. You get down there and it's like, oh, well, let's make sure that we get every dime that you have and everything that you want to do. It's the same, but it's not relaxing. It's just not. It's not a place of and when you go, hey, I want to sit by the water. Well, and Melissa and I, we have two different what we call relaxation things. She likes to sit by the beach. I like to hike. Those are at odds with one another. They're completely two different things. She sits by the beach. I sit with her, and I'm going bored. I'm going out of my mind. I'm like, I got to do something. I got to break my computer out. I got to break a book out. I got to do something. And she's like, why don't you just want to sit here and relax with me? I am. I'm trying to. This is. And then we go hiking, and she goes, I hate this. I don't want to be here. I hate the bugs. I hate the trees. I hate all of this. I'm like, why don't you just want to do what I want to do? She goes, I did this with you. Now why don't you want to do it? See, there's just no refreshing there. And see, it's like, so how do we seek refreshing? Well, you can't go and do those things. You have to seek the one who can truly refresh. The one who truly refreshes is God. That is the good shepherd. You're not going to seek it in all these different places. It's like trying to go and find this place that you're going to, all of a sudden that's magically going to fill the hole, but it's not. That's not going to fill the hole of the tiredness you feel, or you're like, it's going to refresh me. It's not. It doesn't do that. So those are things those are experiences, and those are things. See, if you're tired, you're going to be tired when you get back. If you're exhausted, you're going to be exhausted when you get back because you haven't changed the recipe. The recipe is still the same thing. I love what Dave Ramsey says, and he's talking about finances, but if you've been making a vanilla cake over and over and again, and you just keep using that same recipe, and you decide, oh, maybe it's time for a chocolate cake, but you use the recipe for a vanilla cake, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get vanilla. In order for you to get a chocolate cake, guess what you have to do? You have to change the recipe. So if you want to be able to start getting different things you're like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm bored, I have this going on, I don't feel this way. Well, how am I supposed to change this? You have to change the recipe. What is the recipe? If your recipe is running at 1,000 miles an hour, continually being busy, being a taxi cab, doing these things, always running at the candle burning at both ends, well, guess what? It'll always be that way until you decide to change the recipe and do something different. See, you're not allowing God to truly change what the hunger and thirst of your soul is. You're not allowing that to happen. You're just going in the direction that you want to go, and that is going to lead to disaster. You will always feel the way that you feel. You will never change that. You have to allow the recipe to be changed up. So, what has knocked the wind out of your soul? Is it what you're pursuing, the direction you're going? Are you having a hard time trying to catch your mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being because you're pursuing the wrong things? You're after the wrong things? You're thinking that, more money is going to change it, more vacation is going to change it, more time on Facebook is going to change it, more time on Instagram, more time on Snapchat, more time on this, because it's not. It's not. Those things will not change anything. It's until you start to pursue the one that offers true peace, the one that leads you into true peace. Which direction are you going to truly try and ground yourself? What are you after? Where are you going? See, this is what David is singing out at the top of his lungs in Psalm 23. David is saying that God refreshes not only his body, but his soul as well. That's what he's saying. But this is not just a one-time spiritual event. It's not just once. See, sometimes as Christ followers, we have a tendency to focus too much attention on the day we met Jesus and the day we were baptized, the day we joined a certain church, and the day that's of Christ's return, rather than those moments that tend to be important of everyday soul refreshing. We're like, this is that day. This is the day I met Jesus. This is the day I was baptized. This is this day. And we're so focused on individual days rather than the continual refreshing of our soul. That's a daily thing. Every day you should be pursuing the continual refreshing of your soul. And too often we're not. Too often we just get up and go, and it's so, gee, Bert. You're just like Snuffy, walking around all the time. And here's the thing. I just want you to look at that. And although those moments are important, I don't want you to think that those are not significant moments. But notice what David writes here. It's important to notice. It said, God refreshes my soul. It doesn't say God refreshed my soul. It didn't end in an ED. It doesn't say, it says God guides me along the right paths. It doesn't say God guided, right? It's not ended with an ED. It's ended with an S. It continues, right? And it says, for his name's sake. It's continual. It happens. It's continual going on. And so what happens, where did we get this idea that it's a one-time event? It's continual. Stop making it a one-time thing and go, God continues to refresh. God continues to guide. So how do we continue to move in that? Stay grounded with God, and he will continue to refresh your soul and guide you along the right paths. So, this is what happens. Let's go back to this water here. Only a good shepherd can truly satisfy the hunger and thirst of our soul. Only a good shepherd can truly satisfy the hunger and thirst of our souls. So, just like our body burns calories and dehydrates, resulting in a physical hunger and a physical thirst that we must satisfy daily, some of us hourly, just in case you didn't notice. Our souls have a hunger and a thirst that must be satisfied and rehydrated daily. See, what are you pursuing, your soul, what is your soul pursuing daily? What is it that you're feeding it? What is it that you're rehydrating it with? See, most of us, your soul is starving. What is it that you're feeding to it? What is it that you're giving to it? What is it that you're rehydrating it with? Are you rehydrating it with the word? Are you rehydrating it in prayer? What is it that you're rehydrating your soul with? Because most of us, we're so busy that it's not God's word and it's not prayer and it's not time with God. Most of us, we're too consumed with the world, too consumed with talk radio, too consumed with what's happening out there, that we're being fed all of that rather than, and some of us it's YouTube, and some of it's all these things, and it's not our individual time with God and what God has in store for us, it's what somebody else has been feeding us. What somebody else has been pushing into us, their agenda, whatever has been fed into them, they're pushing onto us. And see, we have to change that. Like, we can't continue to hear what somebody's been feeding into another person and then them. And that's why I tell you, it's so important for you guys to take what I give, like the notes that I give and all those things, and you to go double check what I have to say. Because if you don't double check what I have to say, I could be giving you wrong information, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. You need to go double check me. Now, I'll just tell you right now, I do not try to give you any information unintentionally. I don't try to give you something. Here's some bad stuff intentionally. Like, here, I just want you to go out there and just go feed this to other people. But it happens. And so you need to go double check that. And let's talk about it. If I give something wrong, let me get corrected. So that way I can make sure that we are addressing it, that we are talking about it and go, hey, guys, I need to come up here and I need to make sure that you understand that I said something that was wrong. But if that never happens, then I'll teach it again. I have no problem coming up here and being like, hey, I taught this message 5 years ago. None of you know it. Let's do it again. Like, I've got all of them. I've been doing this for 16 years. I got a few of them from the past that you guys would be like, none of you were here 16 years ago except for my wife. Let's do it again. Well, Susan was here. So, we could do it again. She wouldn't mind. She heard them 3 times sometimes. It's like... We've got a lot to get to still, so we better get going. See, John, one of Jesus' closest friends and followers, writes that about life after Jesus' death, right? And following his crucifixion, and Jesus' disciples scattered, right? And in the case of Peter, he returned to his old calling and life as a fisherman. That's what he does, right? He goes, I don't know what to do. And so he goes back to doing what he did. And so John writes, Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana and Galilee, and sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. And he says, I'm going out to fish. That's what he says. And Simon Peter told him, and they said, we'll go with you. And so they went out and they got into a boat, but that night they caught nothing. So the disciples were out to sea in more ways than one. Let's just say that, right? They were just out to sea in more ways than one. They spent every moment with Jesus for 3 years. Just imagine with that. Every moment they were with him. Every waking moment they were always with him. But in his absence, everything went back to normal. Isn't that what happens? Like, here we are in church. So I'll just give you this complete example. Your attitude changes so much when you come to church. Some of you get in the car and the first thing you go, that effing blank, or this, that, or that, but you would never say that in here. You wouldn't come in here and be like, hey, Pastor Mike, and whatever that you would have to say, you wouldn't do that. But as soon as you get into your car, it changes. As soon as you get to this point, but in here, you're like, oh, I could never say that here. Or when you do say it, oh, I'm so sorry I said that. Why? Why does it change? Because you think that I'm the presence of Jesus? I'm not the presence of Jesus, by the way. We should be very clear. Very, very clear. I am not the presence of Jesus. I am a man trying to tell you about somebody. We should just be clear about that. But see, that's the thing. We get into church and we go, it's a whole different thing. But when we walk out, all of a sudden, everything just goes right back to normal. We're outside of that presence. We're outside of the presence of other believers. We're just like, let's just go back to it. I love the analogy. What do your kids have to say about how things are at home when you leave here? Like, if we just go back to your kids inside of kids' church, hey, how's things at home? What does your dad say? What does your mom say? How do things go? What would they say? And they'd be like, oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know those things. Like, maybe we do. No, you don't want to know. Well, tell us. See, but that's how it is. In the absence, everything went back to normal. They had literally been with Jesus. They had been with him. They were hanging out with him. Like, I mean, could you imagine? You were like, they were in his presence, talking with him, hanging out with him. But in his absence, they were as empty as the nets they were fishing with. That's where it went. And see, they were, and by the way, fishing in the Sea of Galilee was just kind of normally always done at night. That's just kind of how it was. So John continues. Early in the morning, Jesus stood by the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. And he called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Well, throw your nets on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." And when they did, they were unable to haul in the net because of the large number of fish. See, only a good shepherd can fill and refill daily. Right? Only a good shepherd can fill and refill daily. And see, that's what happens. Just like the disciples, we need a daily refreshing and refilling. And in his most famous sermon, this is what the Sermon on the Mount, this is what Jesus says. "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." What do you hunger and thirst for? What are you hungering and thirsting for? See, because if you're hungering and thirsting for more money, that's not righteousness. If you're hungering and thirsting for more of whatever it is, if you want more power, that's not righteousness. What is it that you hunger and thirst for? Are you hungering and thirsting for more righteousness? Because then you will be filled. See, some of us were not hungering for that. Some of us were hungering for more Amazon. Some of us were hungering for more of this. Some of us were hungering for more possessions. We want a nicer car. We're hungering for those things. We're not hungering for more of God. We're not hungering for more of us being upright, us being what we would call a good citizen, any of those things. We're not hungering for God. We're not hungering for Jesus. And so we're never going to be filled. We're always going to be empty because we're hungering for the wrong things. And see, when we're hungering for those things, we will always feel that there's an emptiness within us. That's how we'll always feel. How about you? What are you hungering for? What are you filling your stomach and soul with? What are you filling your mind with? What are you filling? And see, and remember what David writes. David writes, "God refreshes and my soul." See, the former disciples turned to fishermen, don't even know whose guidance they're following when they cast their nets that morning, right? But they immediately recognize their master when they see the miracle. They know it. They immediately see it. And John shares what happens next. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you just caught." And so Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. And it was full of large fish. And then they give a count. It says 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. And Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. They knew. And see, even aside from this, why is it that they go, it's 153 fish? Why is that number even there? Why is that number relevant? Some first century scholars say it's because there was 153 kinds of fish. Like it's just one of those things, hey, we got to go 100, we're going to catch 153 different types of people, like it's just like one of those things. Some of those say it's a possible numerical, it's like the Hebrew words that they use to total of triangular and Pythagorean philosophers. Like there's all kinds of things that come out of here. I think that the reason why they did this, and the most likely reason, is because it caused the disciples to actually sit down and count them. It actually caused them to take time. It caused them, and see, if you threw out a net and you pulled in that much, what would you do? Wouldn't you take the time to count it? If you were pulling that in, wouldn't you take the time to count it? I mean, we went out fishing just a couple weeks ago as a group of guys. Guess what happened? Besides everybody throwing up off the side of the boat, people counted. How many fish did you get? How many crabs did you catch? What did you get? People counted. Everybody counted. Nobody walked off the boat saying, how much did you get? Everybody counted, just as they would back then. They would have counted. That's why the number's there. They counted them because they had been fishing all night long and got nothing. And then all of a sudden, in 5 minutes, they got 153 fish. They're going to count. They're going to talk about it. See, and only a good shepherd can lead to a daily places of fullness. Only a good shepherd can do that. See, David and John both knew from experience that God keeps them full by protecting them from the things that drain them spiritually. That's what he knew. And both men knew that God guides them down the paths that lead to fullness. And even if that means throwing their nets, their focus, their energy to a different side of the boat. That's what it meant. Changing things. And see, if you're not sure what to feed your soul or where to throw your net or your focus or your energy, let this help you this week, right? Let this be a change. There's actually a technique called grounding. There's actually something that's called this, and it's not going to come up here, but grounding is actually a self-soothing approach to help you when you're having a really bad day, dealing with lots of stress. Like we'll call it voltage because that's what our whole series is about, electricity, right? Overwhelming feelings and or intense anxiety. So if you're dealing with any of these things, right? So if you're dealing with stress, overwhelming feelings, or intense anxiety, this is what helps you do. As Paul did in the New Testament, what if we take a moment to redeem and repurpose the practice of the old purposes of God, right? So here's what we do. And you can try and do this now, and maybe you're feeling anxiety now. You're like, oh, this ain't going to work. Okay. So number one, you can take this and you just go, think of five things that you see that are lovely, right? So if you can think of 5 things that you can see that are lovely. So you can just, if you take this and you go, my spouse, my children, you can go, like you can look up here and go, maybe a beautiful instrument on stage. Maybe you could look at the architecture of the room. Well, this room kind of, I wouldn't look at this as beautiful architecture, but, but you could look at something, like you could look at something and go, there's something that's beautiful that you could go, you want to look for 5 things. You want to go, these are 5 things that I can look at and I can see loveliness in them. And you want to grasp onto these 5 things. The next thing, you want to think of 4 things that you can feel that are true. 4 things that you can feel that are true. So think of the comfort, maybe think of the firmness of the floor beneath your feet. Maybe you can think of the temperature of the room. These are things that you can feel. Maybe the Bible or the tablet that you're holding or the phone that you're holding, something that you can feel, right? Something that you have that you can go, I can feel this. So you want to think of 4 things that you can feel. The next thing is, think of 3 things that you've heard that are praiseworthy. 3 things that you've heard that are praiseworthy. So maybe the person that was singing beside you, maybe the music that you heard playing earlier, maybe the prayers that are happening around you. Things that are praiseworthy, something that you can, and so I just want to let you know, guys, inside of our app, just because I think that it's important, and we believe in prayer, that if you actually go to the prayer section of our app, you can be in prayer for those that are in this church that have requested prayer. So if you go to that, you can actually pray with people. Just go, I want to pray with people. It's the first section, and you can go through and you can be in prayer for other people of the church. And so we think that's important. And so it's very, very important that if you happen to be going, hey, I'm requesting prayer and it's confidential, you need to check the confidential box. So very important because it will end up on that list. But think about that. So 3 things that you've heard that are praiseworthy. So 5 things that you can see that are lovely, 4 things that you can feel that are true, 3 things that you've heard that are praiseworthy. Okay? 2 things that you can smell that are pure, right? Maybe it could be the perfume or cologne that your spouse is wearing. Maybe it could be the smell of a candle that you have burning at the house. Maybe it's vanilla, whatever it is, something that you smell, right? And then name 1 thing that you can taste that is excellent, right? It could be the mint or gum or the coffee. It could be whatever it is. So, and we're just using things that are here, but you might have other things that you have that are like, hey, this is what tastes excellent. This is things that I smell that are pure. This is what I've heard that is praiseworthy. This is what I feel and I know that is true. And these are all things that will help you recharge and help you out of those feelings of anxiety and help you outside of some of these things that some of us are feeling that will help bring us and calm us down. So take a moment to engage all 5 senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting. So if you do that, all of a sudden, you'll notice that things change. You'll see that you'll become grounded much faster. So, here are a couple ways to recharge and ground yourself starting this week as well. So you have a way to come out of some of those feelings of anxiety and some of those feelings that and then also here's a way to start recharging ourselves. So number one, first, ground yourself in God's ways. Ground yourself in God's ways. So we just proved with grounding the way that we did when we have power to decide what we think about. So there's ways that we can think about things, we can change what we focus on. We also have the power to control what we focus on. So you have the power to dwell on things that drain you and on what Paul shares in his letter to the early church, right? You can say, hey, this is what, and so here's what he says in Philippians 4. He says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. So I want to go back to this. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent and praiseworthy. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? See, a lot of us, me included, like yesterday. So if you guys know, my Saturday, we get up, and it's kind of like a family day for Melissa and I, right? We'll get up, we go out, we'll typically go get breakfast. Sometimes Michael goes with us. But a lot of times we go out and we do something, and I get behind the wheel of the car, and I'm not thinking pure thoughts sometimes, not impure thoughts, I'm not looking at, but I get behind the wheel, and all of a sudden, it's not praiseworthy, it's not noble, because I'm like, you can't drive. You suck. I'm like, it's definitely not me looking and going, wow, that's a noble thought. No, I'm like, oh man, I'm so frustrated. You can see, and everybody around me, in the car, they're like Melissa's like, what do I got to do to make it to where I'm safe in here? She's buckling up, trying to figure out, she's looking for a race harness. How do I get a 5-point strap in this thing? What do I got to do? She's not really that way. She's learned to trust that my driving is actually okay when I'm angry. But that's how it is. It's definitely not that, right? It's definitely not pure and it's not lovely. But see, when you think about that, and I can tell because I feel it. I feel it in me. I feel the anger rising up. I can definitely tell my blood pressure changes. I know the color of my skin changes. I just know. All of a sudden, I go from being Caucasian to being tomato. It's just a whole different color happens. And so, I know that that's not right. And so when that happens, I have to go, and even now, before service, I go outside and I go, okay, I have to center myself. I have to get back into what God wants me to, the direction that he wants me to be in. I have to go back outside and go, I just need to spend time with God because I have to be in that mindset before I get up here because there's so often, I had to leave this morning. I was like, I got to go. Because there's often times that I'm not in the right place. I got to get in the car and I got to drive away. And I got to go spend time with God. Because there's times where if I'm in the wrong mindset, I'll bring that to this. That can't be where we're at. I have to be where it's noble and it's lovely and it's pure. That's where it has to be. And there's times where if we're in the wrong mindset, we're not delivering for what God has a purpose for. This message needs to be what God wants, not what I want. It can't be me, because if it's me, I'm doing you a huge disservice. I'm doing you this is just a waste of time. Yeah, we gave you some steps, and you can go out and do something with. But if it's not God ordained and it's not from God, then what's the purpose? We just gathered for us to hang out. We should just just get down and we should just hang out. That's not the purpose of this. We're here to glorify God, to praise his name, and to help us to run the play. We're here to get the information so that we can go out and make disciples. That's what we're doing. We're here to become educated, for us to grow a little closer to Jesus, so that way we can walk out the door and be like, okay, this is what I need to share. We're here to be inspired, to change the things necessary in our lives, so we can go, okay, I need to make some changes here. I need to do some things. And when God speaks to us, he goes, okay, now I'm ready to do something different. Now I can walk out and do this. And I will just tell you is that each one of us, like, and you know, I learned something this morning as I was, if you guys don't know, I do a ton of reading, and I listen to like they get in the car with me and they hate it because I'm listening to either talk radio or like I'm listening to books, like audio books, and I'm listening to this book right now, and I had no idea that ministry really means to serve. And so when we talk about ministry, we're talking about just service. And so each and every one of us are ministers. And it's just where we're serving at. Like you could be serving at any job that you have or wherever you're at, like wherever that is. And so each one of us are a minister there. And so as you go out and as you minister at whatever job that you have this ability to, no matter what you're doing, no matter what job you're doing, whatever it is, as you minister there, that you have this ability. So if you're the fry guy, be the best fry guy there is, right? Do that at 100%. And so that people can go, there's something different. Why is he doing that at 100%? Anybody ever seen Coming to America? Anybody ever seen that movie? Well, you know, remember when he was the fry guy and then he'd go out and mop the floor and he'd come back in and be like, they were like, why is he doing, like, he was just doing everything at above. And guess what he was? He was a prince, right? You know, like he was and so they were like, why is he over, like, and he just was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. He was like, this is what I'm called, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be serving at such a level that people go, there's just something different about him or her. Something different. So that way people go, I want what they have. I want what they have. Do people want what we have? Or do we have the same tore up lives that they have? Because I think that oftentimes our lives look just like their lives. And so what's the difference? If our lives look like a train wreck just like their lives do, because we don't do community. We don't share with one another. We don't help one another. We're not doing life together. We're not actually praising Jesus. We're not coming together and doing as we're supposed to. Nobody has a need as it is in the Acts Church because we share with one another. We love one another. We help one another. Well, then what are we doing? By the way, this is all out of left field, so I'm just kind of giving you my little tangent here. So, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. What about you? What are you thinking about? What are you filling your eyes, your mind, your heart with right now? What about the people around you? What are they filling it up with? Are they at peace? Are you at peace? What do you have going on? So, the next thing, ground yourself in with God's love for others. See, there's too often that we go, I love God, but I hate that dude next to me. You know, there's just too often of that. And so we have to remember what David writes. God guides me along the right path for his name's sake. And so what does that last part mean? See, and after the miraculous catch in John 21, Jesus pulls one of the disciples aside. And it says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord. Peter said, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my lambs. And Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And he answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, take care of my sheep. And the third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was hurt because Jesus had asked him the third time. Do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. See, Peter had already decided to follow Jesus once before leading to Peter's failing, right? You know, and before even denying he knew Christ and returning to his old wife and his old ways. Peter needed fresh air and his faith and a fresh feeling before walking out. And so do we. We need it. And often, like, we need that fresh filling. We need that new thing. So and if David wrote his psalm 1,000 years later, it might have said, Jesus refreshes my soul, rather than God refreshes my soul. It'd say Jesus refreshes my soul. And if Jesus can do this, and what will he do for you? Do you think he'd keep it all for himself? For the disciples, it's easy as saying, you won't believe what just happened. Jesus filled our nets with 153 fish, and that's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. What are some of the 153 fish and a full net moments for you? What are the 153 fish full net moments for you? Where are you sharing these moments? Who are you sharing these moments with in your life? See, David was known as a man after God's own heart. That's what he was known as. This didn't mean he was perfect. It didn't mean that he had everything together, but he did ground himself in God. That's where he was at. What are you grounded in? Where is your heart grounded at? What are you grounded in? What are you pursuing? What are you after? See, if we are pursuing the wrong thing and if we're grounded in the wrong thing, that's where our heart will always be at. See, you need to be grounded in Jesus, so that's where your heart is at. So it always comes back to that. That it always goes back into what Jesus is at. This is what I want you to do. I want you to, and it's really just this core thing. I want you to love me. That's what he's saying. Love me. Love God. And then go and love others. That's all he's asking you to do. And in that process, we actually fulfill all the other things that we're asked to do. By loving God, we fulfill everything else that he asks us, and by loving others, we literally fulfill everything else that they've asked us to do. Because we'll make disciples, and we'll do all those other things, and we'll fulfill all of the other commandments that we're asked to do and all the other laws because we're actually stepping in and we'll go, hey, I'm going to be obedient to what you've asked me to do. I'm going to do all the things you've asked me to do because I'm loving you and I'm loving others. So all we have to do is step into those things and be grounded in what God has asked us to do. That's it. What are you grounded in? Because if you're grounded in self, it's never going to work out. Let's pray. Father, thank you. Thank you for today to help us recenter ourselves and to ground ourselves in you, Jesus. Some of us have strayed away from that. Some of us have walked into some different directions. Some of us have pursued some other things. But today we are realigning our hearts, we're realigning our minds, and we're grounding ourselves in you. Father, help us to navigate this new path, this new direction. Help us to live this life that you've called us to live that is oftentimes difficult. It's not easy, because if it was easy, we weren't doing it for you. Father, help us to move closer to you, to where we can hear that soft, quiet voice. That we know that we're moving in the direction that you've asked us to go. Help us to slow down. Help us to navigate the direction you've called us to go. It's too often that we're moving at such a fast pace that we don't even hear your voice because we're so busy. We just have so much on our plate. We just have so much going on that we just can't hear it. And so, Father, help us to cast away the things that don't matter and just put more of the things that do matter on our plate. More of you, more time with our families, more time with the things that are important to you. And really that just means loving you and loving those around us. Father, help us to remember that relationships matter. That as we look and we go, I want to pray for others, I want to serve with others, I want to eat with other people, I want to just have relationships with other people. Just help us to keep that at the forefront. Help us to stop retreating and hiding and help us to do life with other people. Because that's what you would have us do. Father, thank you again for today. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for today's message and the direction that you've placed some of us to move forward. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. And we all said, Amen.